Hey there, it's Wendy from Worldwide Speak. And in this video, we're going to talk about editing tip number 4. This one is super easy and super quick, but it will help you tremendously. Before we move on, I just want to let everyone know this video is geared towards the English language learner who's beginning their writing journey in English, but of course it's open to everybody. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. It helps us get the word out to all of those who are learning English across the world. So let's move on to editing tip number 4. Okay, so like I've done in the other tips 1, 2, and 3, I talk about what editing is. It's really the part of the writing process where we go over or go back through our writing to look for errors or to make changes to make our paper better. The purpose of editing is to fine-tune your paper. You want to make sure that there are no errors and your paper, your overall paper, is clear and effective. It's like that image below me of the violin. You know, you could have a beautiful piece that you want to play, but if your violin is out of tune, it's going to sound pretty bad, right? So you want to make sure your violin is in tune in order for the music to sound beautiful. Just like you want to make sure your paper has been edited and you've checked for errors and you made sure you were clear and effective so that your paper is strong, clear, and effective. Okay, tip number 4. Super easy. Read your paper out loud. So there are some real benefits to reading your paper out loud, even if you're not a native speaker of the language. Benefits are the good things that you get from doing this exercise. 1, you have to slow down when you read out loud. When you read silently, your brain can move faster. When you have to speak out loud, you have to slow down. So therefore, you are able to see maybe errors that you didn't or you wouldn't if you had just read it silently in your head. When you're reading out loud, you can hear the mistakes or the errors. You can also hear the rhythm of the paper. So that's your overall feeling of the paper. Is it clear and effective? Are the paragraphs long enough? Do you explain things well? And then it also makes you more accountable. Because if you read your paper and you don't think it's very good, it probably isn't. I'm sorry to say, but you have to be proud of your work and think that it's interesting and it's worthy of being read before you give it to somebody else to read or to listen to. So when you're reading it out loud, you can really hear the effort and the time that you've put into this paper. Okay, so when we have an editing skill that we're focusing on, we need to really know what we're doing. If you just read your paper out loud with no purpose, it's not going to do you much good. So here are some things that I recommend to my students to do while they're reading their paper out loud. First, listen to see if you have short, choppy sentences, that you sound more like a computer or a robot. And if that's the case, then you probably need to change some of those into compound or complex sentences. On the other hand, listen for sentences that go on and on and on and on, and you have to take a breath, but you're not finished with your sentence. That means it's probably way too long and you should break that sentence up and make sure also that it's not a run-on sentence error. Again, like I mentioned previously in the benefits, you want to listen for the flow of the paper. That's listening if it's too choppy or if it's too long. Also, if maybe you're listening and you hear the reasons and examples to support your paper, but maybe when you read them out loud, they don't sound as strong as you thought they did. You want to go and you want to make sure that your reasons and examples are very detailed and paint the picture in the mind of the reader. And lastly, this is a great way to think about this exercise and this editing tip. Read your paper like a presentation. Is it convincing? Is it interesting? Are your examples clear? If you read your paper like you're presenting it, you'll be more invested, and it will also make your paper stronger because you will be able to hear if your paper is convincing or interesting. Because like a paper, a presentation needs to engage the audience. And your job as a writer is to engage or to interest or to draw in your reader so that they can clearly picture what you're trying to do in your paper, what the purpose is of your paper, and that it's interesting to read. Okay, it's practice time. This is a really short little paragraph, but I want to go through it together and show you how I would go about this editing tip number 4, reading it out loud. There are so many incredible cities to visit throughout the world. A lot of people prefer to visit cities in the United States. The United States has a large variety of cities. Often visitors choose New York City. They have amazing theater performances. Others like to go to San Francisco. It has natural beauty. The most amazing city is Chicago. One must visit Chicago when traveling in the United States. Chicago has great architecture, restaurants, and museums. That to me sounded like I was reading you a list. And lists are wonderful if you're going to the grocery store, but they're not so wonderful when you're writing a paper with purpose. It's robotic and boring. So in this paragraph, this very short paragraph, I found that the sentences were too short and choppy. It sounded like a computer, right? I said it sounded like a list. So what I would do is I would go back through the paragraph and I would change some of those sentences and make them compound sentences or complex sentences. And I'd make sure that there were a variety of those types of sentences in the paragraph. I don't want all compound or all complex or all simple, but you want a nice mixture of simple, compound, and complex sentences so you can hear that nice flow for your paper. All right, there you have it. Tip number 4. You can now go read your paper out loud and see if you hear any errors or if you can hear the rhythm of your paper or if when you read it, you think it's really interesting. Make sure to let me know how it goes down in the comments below, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.